and live transcript. Subtitle. Okay, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Arizona. Glad to see you all this morning, bright and early. Some few of you I had a chance to see actually in person last week. That was kind of fun. So as we always do, I always nag you folks, if you haven't already, to please fill out our Google form and provide your contact information so we know who's participating, how to reach you, and so forth. I mean, one of the strengths of the task force is people connecting with each other. Can't do that if they can't find you. So please take the time to fill that out. And then we will have an interesting presentation with Mikhail. Is that how you pronounce your name, Mikhail?
Yes, you said it correctly.
Yeah, with Mikhail, with the Digital Connect Initiative under the Gila River Telecommunications. Interesting project, and I know they're just gearing up, but looking forward to hearing your overview, Mikhail. So again, just a reminder that after our meeting, we do kibitzing with colleagues. For those of you who don't know what that is, after our meeting, we stop the video, the recording, and no presentations, just sharing information, asking questions and so forth, totally informal. We have anywhere from 5 to 25 people who participate. So that will happen after the formal meeting is over. And with that, besides Mikhail, who we'll hear from later, do we have anybody new joining us today? Anybody joining us for the first time today? Okay. Again, thanks to our sponsors, CareFirst Health Plan, Valley of the Sun United Way, Satellite Broadcasting and Communications Association, Khajiit, and Triad Wireless. Just a reminder, actually, coming up on, is it the 18th? That is Easter Monday. Is that a problem for people? Not hearing a yes, and then we'll go ahead and plan to meet. Let's see what else. I think that's all that I have at the moment. So let's just go ahead and get into our updates. Jeff, I saw you're online. You want to kick it off, please?
Yeah, hi, Steve. I'm driving, so I'm not going to be joining you all by video today.
Okay.
Couple things. Last week, I got an opportunity to participate in the Big Data Southwest conference. I want to thank Kurt Busch, the organizer, and Mark Goldstein for inviting me to be on the panel. Really interesting stuff. Met some great people at that, and looking forward to continuing to work with that organization. Also got a chance to see Steve out of his native Tucson for the first time in a while, which was kind of cool. And many other folks that we see, on this call quite a bit on Mondays, but live and in person, which was great. For those of you who have not had a chance to meet Sandeep, our new assistant broadband director, I encourage you to reach out to him directly and have a conversation. Sandeep is incredibly technical and somebody that we're going to involve in areas with partnerships, for example, with projects, with counties and tribes and others, to provide some technical resource. I would love to be able to spend much more time on those, but it's just not possible. And Sandeep is much on a different level than I am even. So if you have a project and you're looking for some technical assistance, particularly on the wireless side, that really is his area of expertise. Got a quick update last week on the Final Mile project. It sounds like Wes and Mylan and the team are just moving forward as always. And the E-rate project. So obviously Department of Ed, kudos on the work that you're doing. This week is a lot of catch up going on. We've got a meeting with the Navajo Nation, the next in our series of broadband summits. It's going to be held out of a little town in Utah up north of the Four Corners area on Wednesday. So that's going to be a big time issue in terms of just transportation and that sort of thing. I think it's 6 hours each way. And last, and probably most importantly, we had our first meeting with the governor's infrastructure staff last week as part of the IIJA, the infrastructure bill. The state has to appoint, again, this is my term, an infrastructure czar or director. I don't exactly know what her title is, as well as a team. And I had our initial call just to go over what we're looking to do for broadband. Got a very, very positive response. They seem to like what we're doing, and that's good stuff. Not to say it won't change. And then we've got a meeting with the entire group this week from all the various agencies, ADOT and others. So quite a bit going on this week. And if you need to get a hold of me, as I've told you before, please text me. It's probably the best way, as I'm a little behind on email. Thanks.
Hey, Jeff, do you have any timeline of when you're going to have all the grants reviewed and announce?
June 30th.
June 30th? Cool.
Yes.
Okay. And Sandeep, I saw that you're online. Do you want to add anything?
Thank you so much, Jeff. Again, to introduce me. This is my second meeting with this team. Really great to be here. If anyone has any question, as Jeff mentioned, regarding any technical implementation, any plan for future which will improve the broadband situation here at the state significantly, please feel free to reach out to me. As Jeff mentioned, he has a lot in his plate, and I'm here to help him and help anyone else who is actually taking any initiative to implement any broadband plan or digital inclusion, distance learning, telemedicine, anything I can help with at this point. I'm open. So my email, Steve Peters does have my email. I'm going to post it in the chat box. Please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you, everyone, and great to be here.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Sandeep.
I was going to
You're welcome.
mention, Steve, Sandeep was on our telemedicine broadband action team call and provided some really interesting updates regarding kind of the state of the industry and how things are going. So please do reach out to him.
Okay. And Sandeep, I don't know if you want to say anything about that. I don't know if Janet's on the line today. Janet, are you there?
Janet here.
Oh, good. So we can hear from her, hear from you in just a little bit, Janet.
Thanks.
Okay.
Welcome aboard, Sandeep.
Thank you, sir.
So Kirk, you all recovered from your conference. Good job.
I don't know
Okay.
I don't know if I go that far, but thank you, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for the support. I think it was a great first go around. Jeff, thank you for, your schedule's so busy. Thanks for joining. Yeah, it was a great first event. Looking forward to 2023, to be honest with you, but we got through this one alive. And thank you, everybody. And for the people that had trouble with the Zoom sound, I felt really bad for that poor guy. He had some medical issues. Our sound guy ended up with some medical issues that kind of affected his situation. So we've got it all recorded though. And even though you might not have had good sound on the Zoom, it's all professionally recorded and it'll be available for replay soon. So thanks for everybody's patience too that was on the Zoom.
Okay. Thanks, Kirk. So moving on, Mala is not going to be able to join us today. Holly, are you here? Do you have anything that you'd like to report on?
No, not really, Steve. We're just continuing to work out the details of that pilot telemedicine project with Pima County Public Library. And then we also, are continuing our work with the Navajo Nation with getting those chapter houses qualified as branch libraries so that they're E-rate qualified. And Nicole is also out today, I understand. So I'm sure Cindy has the report for their committee.
Okay. Okay, moving on then, Cindy. And so Nicole is not here. Cindy, you want to give us an update on what's happening with digital inclusion, please?
Sure. Let's see. First, just to give an ACP update, Affordable Connectivity Plan. Looks like countrywide, they added 173 490 new subscribers. They seem to be close to 200,000 a week across the country. And Arizona added 3,700 in that last week that it's being recorded. So it's still moving. And we are holding Digital Inclusion Network lunch meetings for practitioners every other week on Thursdays to discuss different projects. Last week, we revisited the Affordable Connectivity Plan because Common Sense Media is doing an outreach project as a pilot. They're doing some targeted advertising. I'll let Elena talk about that in just a second. So we did a lot more conversation about outreach and how to get the word out still across the state of Arizona. Elena, do you want to kick in right there?
Sure, yeah, I can do that. So we're going to be doing a pilot in an area, probably something that the libraries and Common Sense are working on together. So we're going to work and see what area, Phoenix, maybe South Phoenix or Maryvale area. And then we're also doing the same thing in a community in California. We really want to do an outreach that is an advertising campaign that involves, you know, a little bit of out of the box thinking, because we know that we have to go where people are to get them signed up. So that's really the plan. We want to launch something perhaps very early June. We're working with an agency right now for the assets and all of that. And so I think Drew's on the call too, if Drew, or he was. But if anybody has any questions, let me know. We're just in the planning stages right now, but we are going to partner here on the ground with Nicole and Connect Arizona and the libraries.
So can you tell us what that pilot's going to be, Elena?
Sure. Excuse me. So we're going to be looking at a full-blown advertising campaign and try to, you know, do some metrics around the signups for ACP for the affordable. Well, we just talked about it with Cindy and her group too. So the affordable connectivity program. We know that there's 50 million people across the country who are eligible, and a fraction have signed up, as Cindy just pointed out. So Drew, I see you're on the call. Is there anything in particular you want to say? There's not a lot going on at the moment because we're just in the planning stages right now. We just needed to first have an on the ground partner. And so we're going to be working with the state libraries on that.
Yeah, we're going to ultimately want to have ultimately going to want to have a website where a user can enter the zip code and be directed to digital navigators or enrollment support in their area. So if you are doing that sort of work or know someone who's doing that sort of work, let us know and we can include you in that directory.
Okay. So
we're also going to have a buyer's guide as part of that as well. That's going to help people really try to figure out from a provider standpoint where they can go and get not just the best deal, but you know, they need to, there's a requirement, and then there's also a need for certain speeds. We've talked about this, you know, forever, and it isn't good enough just to connect somebody. They have to be connected in a way that's going to be meaningful, and that's going to involve, you know, certain speeds. And for those of you that don't know what the Affordable Connectivity Program is, it's $30, basically a $30 stipend off of your monthly internet bill for those that qualify for that. So it may not sound like a lot, but $30 is a ton of money for people that, you know, really could use the help. So was there anything else, Drew, that I missed?
That's all good.
So question for y'all. The back office stuff sounds great. Help me understand the outreach. That was always a bit of a challenge. I know that the state library did a good job. There was a group we worked with called Wildfire that helps folks have you know, difficulty with their utility bill and really jumped out of the gate really quickly on this. But the outreach strategy is something that I've thought about a lot and trying to figure out how else we can do this. And I don't know if this is something, I don't know if your organization will be up for this. I like this idea a lot, but in other parts of the country, particularly in the East Coast, a lot of African-American churches and Catholic churches and others that are doing, that are in low-income areas have been very active in this program. Would it make sense to work with somebody like Tracy Beal or one of the other folks that has ties to the faith community to help get our enrollment numbers up?
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. We've already been in contact, and I see Aaron's on the call too. So we've already been in contact with a number of on the ground groups to help with the effort. First thing we want to do is, get the campaign up and running, and then get the materials as well, additional materials out to just the groups that, just like you mentioned, Jeff, those, we know we have to go to where people are. So we're really trying to think outside the box, in addition to, things like faith-based organizations and stuff. We want to hit things like laundromats, barbershops. We feel like the outreach, just putting it out there is not enough. And just telling people to sign up is not enough. So we need to take it a step further. And so I see Erin shaking her head because they've got a program that we're going to hopefully engage with as well as with the libraries. And so we can have some sort of a better and more concerted effort and pulling Wildfire in. So absolutely. Yes to everything you just said.
Oh, no, that's great. You brought up a really good point, and it's go to where the people are. I think a lot of times we feel like everything has to be done digitally, and having somebody who already has an existing relationship in that community, who's a trusted partner, the more folks that have that kind of relationship that we can evolve from the whole spectrum of our society, I think is great. So great job.
Thanks. Well, we have to stop sending people to go do things digitally when we're all on this call right now talking about how so many people don't have access. So
Yep.
we really just have to get out there and, pound the pavement and go grassroots. And so we're going to partner with all the right organizations. And, like I said, the advertising campaign will hopefully at least get the conversation started and point people in the right direction for help.
Lana, has anyone verified that the existing service providers of all those people on their phone bills have let everyone know that this service or this opportunity is available to them? Since the FCC made that one of the requirements for the service providers. I mean, that's a direct mailing right in their mailbox in their hand.
I'm not sure if all service providers have done that so far. And a lot of those people may have signed up, people who already have telecommunication services. One of our goals is to sort of, we've heard from partners that it takes about 7 impressions. 7 impressions is the average to get someone to act. So like the FCC requirement was just for 1 or just to have done it. So that alone may not be enough. And it also may not penetrate disconnected communities who maybe aren't connected to a telecommunications provider. So I don't know if they've done it yet. Even if they have, we still want to do it because we just want to blanket the airwaves as much as possible.
Mylan, there are some locals. There are some that have done it, and they're advertising it. Cox is advertising to remind people to do it. I've seen T-Mobile has advertised to tell people to do it. But again, just seeing a commercial, or even if they see the commercial a couple of times, it's just not enough. So with partnering with organizations and with Univision and like I said, just really making a concerted effort to get where the people are, even if it is just another impression or 2 or 3 or 4 more impressions, it gets them really thinking about it and moving forward on the sign up.
So Mylan, a couple of things, and we're going to hear later from Mikhail, but there are several providers here in Arizona who are actually developing their own digital inclusion initiatives. And so I think that's important to know because many of them are new, they're local providers. And so we've heard from some of them already, and we'll be hearing from Mikhail today. I'm just curious about, and particularly folks like Aaron, like you and Cindy and all, are we getting any information about how people are actually implementing it so they get themselves, we've talked over and over again about the issue of technical support. Do we have any kind of feedback nationally or in the state about people, about actual adoption?
Adoption of which
But
part?
so being able to actually use the technology they're getting.
To get online or to
Yeah.
to enroll in ACP?
No, to get online.
I think it's part of a monitoring and evaluation and a research effort that will undergird all of this. So I think we need to get baseline data, because I think there's still work to be done to understand who is really unconnected, underserved in the state. I think some of that work is ongoing. Some of it has to begin as part of the digital equity efforts in the state. And then I think once we have all of the stakeholders weighing in and we start to get everyone in a room and sharing information, we'll have a much better idea. And from there, as we're implementing processes and everyone begins working together, we'll have a much better idea of progress that's being made. So I think there are some data, but I don't think that there is clarity really around all of that.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, and does the, I'm sorry, does the.
Go ahead, Rory.
I apologize. Somebody else talking?
No, go ahead, Rory.
Okay, I was gonna suggest that a lot of the schools have subsidized school lunch program. And maybe that criteria, because maybe that criteria could help identify other targets. I know that some of our schools that we're working with have between 80 and 100% of the students that fall under that category.
Rory, this is Drew from Common Sense. Yes, 100%. There are a lot of those community eligible free and reduced lunch schools. All of their students are eligible for the ACP. So in addition to this traditional advertising campaign we're talking about, we're also going to try to develop some guides for school administrators just to do that sort of enrollment, because you can cut out most of the eligibility work there because you know that every single family you're in touch with can enroll. So we're going to be pursuing that as well.
And let me cap on, this is Ian with SBI, and Mila might jump in. That's a slippery slope too. Yep. And the reason why is you have ECF. So if the school is not in session and they're eligible for ECF, which is going into its third window, you can't have a student with ECF and ACP because that's double dipping, and somebody will get it remanded from. So very careful in the education to the schools, through the schools. It's an either or and not a both. So both of them are subsidizing the connectivity. One is for educational purposes, the other is for every other reason to stay connected. So as you do the outreach to the school, just keep that in mind and protect the integrity of that ECF, because that's what's keeping the students online too.
Thanks, Ian.
You know, and I was going to mention one, overarching thing. I think we need to remember that digital equity does not just include K-12 kids. I think that there seems to be that thought, and it's clearly an easy to undefine group. But we have a very large senior population in their state that needs to be taken care of. One of the more interesting conversations I had with the governor's office last week was around the Department of Corrections and helping folks that are recently released from prison, helping them get it back up on their feet and understanding the options that they have, so they don't, it's not a cycle of winding back up in prison. Public housing is another area that we need to take a hard look at. So as important as K-12 kids are, and believe me, they are, we need to make sure that we put a pretty big tent when it comes to digital equity.
Absolutely, Jeff.
Okay, let's move on. Janet, do you have anything? Do you want to give us an update on, of course, what you're doing and also the telehealth and libraries initiative, please?
Yes, thank you, Steve. And I'll start with telehealth and libraries. We had a very exciting meeting last week, and next week our meeting will include the 2 librarians from the 2 pilot sites in Pima County. And Ken Zambos, who is the director of the Pima County Libraries, has just been awesome. And I provided him with a stethoscope and we have a 30-day software license so that we can work out the protocols and practice scrubbing the data and everything that we need to be confirmed with regards to implementing those technologies. But I can't think of a better way to increase digital equity than telehealth and being able to teach people how to take their own vital signs, and giving us the opportunity to send our medical students and nursing students out in the field to have some great human interaction. So it's a really exciting project, and the stars are lining up. I also wanted to say that with regards to the ACP, you know, the community health centers have done a great job getting people signed up. And when they connect people to healthcare and get them connected to SNAP benefits, it's on their list of things to do. And I think we've gotten a lot of bang for our buck with some of those primitive advertising tools, like having handouts in Spanish and English on the counter at the community health centers, you know, for people to be able to take that information home and process it if they're not ready to like get signed up right then. And I also think in terms of the grassroots movement and investing our resources, I can't think of a better way to improve access than hiring more digital navigators. And they're going to play an important role in the telehealth and libraries project as well, because just like certified diabetes educators, you're not going to have digital navigators at all libraries everywhere. And we can so easily now video conference with them and maximize their time and have them very involved with the telehealth pilot project. So I think it's pretty exciting to think about as we roll out the first 2 locations. In the telehealth world, we're hoping to have a director for our program in place by July 1st. That's the deadline that I heard. In the first week of May is the American Telemedicine Association. And I hope that we've got colleagues there who are interested in applying for that job. We've been a national and international leader in that space for 25 years. So we're really hoping that they find a person who not only has a passion for what we're doing here in Arizona, but it is also someone who's been involved in the telemedicine space and has the experience to help us move forward.
Janet, can you clarify that you're looking for the director to replace Dr. Weinstein?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes, for the
Director of the Arizona Telemedicine Program.
Correct. And our program yesterday or Saturday presented the first award in his name to a rural health professions program. And it went to the people in Yuma who just did, from the Western Area Health Education Center, who just did a very big survey in Yuma with regards to healthcare and broadband. There was that included in their survey as well. So they were great. It's great that they won the award, and they've been going gangbusters out there helping prepare and train the bilingual healthcare workforce of the future. And they have an incredible library right next to their hospital. So we've done a lot of work there, and it just works out that even though the Western Area AHEC is in San Luis, which is 15 miles away, from Yuma, we've got a really strong community in Yuma, and Jeff has shared that, you know, they've pulled together all the constituents in that community to come up with solutions for their broadband issues. And we hope now to do the same thing along with Sandeep's help for folks in Coconino County. There's a lot of interest right now in Coconino County, and there are healthcare providers who would like to get together, and I'm hoping that they'll also bring other key stakeholders to the table to talk about coming up with a plan for Coconino County as well. A couple of just upcoming events. The biggest one is tomorrow. It's our next in the series of grant workshops. Tomorrow is specifically on broadband grants and resources. And I hope that you'll join us if you're interested. It's from 10 a.m. to 11:30, and registration's on our website, and I'll put that into chat. We also have a couple, I'm hoping to plan one more in the grant writing series that would be just about Arizona. And we've got a lot of foundation grants and a lot of things that are really exclusive to our population. And even though the ACA broadband grants will be announced June 30th, there will be more money. Jeff said, I have the video. So we can look forward to promoting people and promoting the idea that there are still great opportunities for people to write grants to provide solutions to their broadband challenges here. So Jeff said he's in, Mark Goldstein's in, Kimber Lanning's in. So I just need to pull together a date for that will be in May or June. Thanks.
And just for those of you who don't know, that Dr. Weinstein was the godfather of telemedicine in the state. And he did a phenomenal job of getting the telemedicine program going.
And I have to confess, I miss him a lot more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
And not necessarily, not just in Arizona, the godfather, he really launched world-class well modeled and copied, initiatives here, that he really was a force for that globally as much, as he was regionally.
Janet, you and Dr. Weinstein go back many years, huh?
Yes, and to be part of his team meant not just being active in organizations, it meant being president of those organizations. He really nurtured careers, and this is from entry level to pathology experts in their field. He just really was someone who was all about STEM and STEAM. Lucky for me, right? I've been involved in recruiting the healthcare workforce of the future and doing health career fairs for high school students. And I hope my job doesn't change with whoever this new person is, because that's one of my favorite things to do. And if we want to really prepare and train a very diverse healthcare workforce of the future, it starts by recruiting in elementary school, right? So I hope I still get to do the things that I've loved doing for 25 years as well.
Well, so Janet, the Arizona Telemedicine Program is one of, if not the top telemedicine program in the country.
And we used to be providers. We are no longer now, with our new relationship with Banner, we are not a healthcare provider. We used to be that niche and provide specialty care in prisons. We were once in 9 prisons. Well, now the prisons have their own network, and they've probably got over a dozen really nice telemedicine carts in different spaces and places. And it's really, we planted a lot of seeds that have bloomed. And I think that's been a big credit to Dr. Weinstein as well. And our state legislators. We were funded with a great pilot. We were assigned the challenge of finding 7 diverse sites for pilots, and one was a prison, and one was IHS, and one was a community health center, and that really did help plant those seeds. And that was 25 years ago. So now Arizona's in full bloom, and we're really looking forward to the future.
Okay, great. Thanks, Janet. Okay, moving on. Excuse me. Cindy, did you have anything else you wanted to add? We kind of moved on, but did you have anything else you needed to add? Cindy, you still there? Okay, moving on. Arizona Department of Education, Sophia, Mylan, Kelly, you guys are on.
Hey, Steve, how you doing?
Good.
Yeah, for E-rate, not really a lot of changes. Gave that update last week about the total for the state broken down by category 1, category 2. For ECF, it's coming up the 28th. We're going to be have a new filing window opening. That's going to be, we'll have the opportunity to finish getting laptops for every student in the state for home use, and they should take them home and keep them at home. And also the ECF program will pay for internet connectivity, whether it be at home or pay for a hotspot for them to use at home through December of 2023. We also have, let's see, we'll do training on the 28th, the morning of the 28th at 9 a.m. A Zoom call with training for the schools that have not taken advantage of the program. But when we look at the numbers, Arizona schools came in, I think it was either 7th or 8th, 6th or 8th across the country as far as amount of funding we've requested from the ECF program. So purely looking at the numbers, it looks like Arizona should be in good shape. So we should have already pulled in the majority of the funding that we're going to be needing for our students at home. So I don't suspect this next funding window will be a huge opportunity for Arizona, but we're going to take advantage of any and all that we can get. So we'll be doing training on the 28th to help any stragglers do their submissions. For the Final Mile project, we have 1 complete, 4 in process. We have another 4. The RFPs are in the hands of the school districts. I have 3 of the school districts have sent me their selections. I'm waiting on 1 today. Once that one sends me their selection, we'll have the Final Mile board meet. Wes and Sean will pull the board meeting together. They will vote to approve the selections of those school districts. And then the award letters will go out to those vendors, and which means next week, those award letters should be out by then. The week after, we'll be kicking off project meetings for those. So that's an exciting opportunity. That's about it for me. So Karina or Sophia, if you're on the line, you guys can pick up where I left off.
Yep, I don't really have a ton to add as far as my role doing some tech policy stuff. I'm still working on some partnership work between us and Jeff's office and the governor's office and state land that we're hoping will come to fruition in the next month or two. And this isn't super tech related, but since we're all a fan of teachers in this group, the department does have some great teacher appreciation stuff. So if you're looking for things to share for teacher appreciation, feel free to head over to the department's social media.
Okay. And Kelly, do you have anything that you want to add?
No updates after my presentation last week. I did just want to say thank you that I have been in contact with a number of people from this meeting. So thank you to everyone for reaching out. And I am looking forward to continuing to work with everyone.
Sounds good.
Steve, I do want to add one more thing. Sophia
Sure.
gave me the opportunity to interview kids this past Saturday over the phone, video interviews with kids for the state school. What was it? What are their positions, Sophia?
The Student Advisory Council. Superintendent Hoffman has an all-student council.
And let me tell you, that was the most fun I have had in years. Talking to, I think it was 9 students, anywhere from grade 5 to grade, I think 10th grade was the highest one I got to interview. These kids were the most impressive kids I've ever seen and got to talk to. It just really made my year. We work for these kids all year long. We do everything we can to help them. And then having the chance to interact with them one-on-one was just, it was wonderful. So, if you guys get a chance to work with kids directly, take advantage of it because they're fantastic.
Okay. Okay, moving on. I don't believe Leah is on the call today. Derek, I think I saw it that you're on the call, however.
I am, Steve. Though I don't think I have much to add to what my colleagues have already covered today. So I think we're in good shape. I mean,
Any more update on the highway projects?
no, nothing new. I mean, everything's progressing along the anticipated timeline and feels like it's, we're well on our way to that conduit and fiber in the roadway, late this year, early next.
Okay, thanks. So we heard already from Mylan about the Final Mile project. Rory, do you have anything that you want to add? Rory,
No, sorry about that. So what it looks like is we've, through the Final Mile project, we've been able to start identifying some areas that we might be able to help. Before that, we'd like to offer any areas, and I reached out to Mala on that if you can help us identify some of the areas that actually could use some quicker response time for poor services in the area, that we're, as a company, we're willing to take a look at that and see if we can't escalate that with some of the new equipment we've been deploying out in the field over the last couple of months. So if somebody's aware of a small town that needs help and we can help out, please let us know.
Hey, any questions for Rory or Mylan about the Final Mile project? Okay, if not, we're ready to move on. But I got to say, it just blows me away, and I'm sure most of you, that what's happening here in Arizona is just phenomenal, and the great work that people are doing. So thank you all for all the great work you do.
Steve, this is
Yeah,
Mark. If I may, for a moment.
Sure.
Here in the updates. 2 things on Wednesday. One is that Drew Clark, who has a group called Broadband Breakfast, I've known him for a dozen years when he was an Illinois State Director for broadband in the last recovery. But he holds a weekly conversation or panel that's actually excellent. He was on my panel at Big Data Southwest conference last week. Anyway, this Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. our time, he will spend an hour with Alan Davidson, the NTIA administrator is the title, talking about the IIJA, the $42.5 4 or 5 billion that is going to come from NTIA primarily, and the other NTIA programs. So that will be recorded and available for streaming usually within a couple of days, but it's live Wednesday morning at 9. And then Wednesday at noon is the ATIC monthly board meeting, and notices and minutes for that will go out to you all if I have your emails in the board list, and probably 95% of you I do. So that's Wednesday at noon.
Okay. Any other announcements before we move on to our presentation this morning? If not, then let's move on to our presentation. Mikhail, I'm going to stop sharing and turn it over to you, but I wanted to introduce Mikhail Sundust, who's the Executive Director of the Digital Connect Initiative. You know, it's interesting to me, every day, every time I go somewhere or I talk to somebody, I find another new organization that's involved in digital inclusion. And as I mentioned, I think there's a number of providers here in the state who are really taking a lead in developing digital inclusion initiatives. And so I was glad to run into his colleagues at the event the other day, and who, by the way, have been participating with us. But anyway, Mikhail, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to stop sharing and let you do your thing.
All right. Well, thank you, Steve. I just want to say, you know, that I'm really humbled and amazed by all the work that you guys are doing. And it's really cool to hear so many other people interested in this work and really engaged in bringing digital equity to those who need it throughout.
Mikhail, can I interrupt you for just
Yeah.
1 sec, please? So Wes, I didn't realize, I see you're on the call. I haven't seen you in a while. Do you have anything more that you want to add to what we've already talked about with the Final Mile project?
No, Steve, kind of think of me as your prodigal. I just returned, but I won't require you give me a ring off your finger and a cloak. But no, I'm just really here to listen. Although if anybody's got a couple of $1 million laying around, the Final Mile will be glad to take it. That's it. I just wanted to join and listen, but everyone who knows me there is no way I'm going to sit through anything and just listen without saying something. So there it is.
Okay, sorry, Mikhail. I just wanted to, haven't seen Wes in a while, so we're glad to have him on board.
Yeah, no worries.
So go ahead, Mikhail.
So as Steve said, my name is Mikhail Sundust. I am a member of the Gila River Indian community, and I work for Gila River Telecommunications Incorporated. We're a pretty small, you know, locally owned, tribally owned and operated phone and internet service provider. As far as I know, we're the first in the nation that did that. About 30 years ago, GRTI got started. And now they own several subsidiary companies, including Alluvion, which I know my colleagues from Alluvion participate in these calls, Native Technology Solutions, GRBC, which is Gila River Broadcasting. They're the first tribally owned and operated low power TV station, and they operate within the reservation boundaries. And then now sort of the newest one is the Digital Connect Initiative, and that's the organization that I'm representing this morning. DCI started several years ago as just an idea in the minds of our board members, who were asking themselves, you know, we're doing all this work to bring infrastructure to the community members, to lay fiber and to make sure everybody has connected, and we're calling that you know, digital, and that's an aspect of digital inclusion. But once the fiber is there, once the infrastructure is in place and people are quote unquote connected, are they using that internet to its fullest potential? You know, are they getting the maximal beneficial use out of their internet connection? And so they started developing this concept of Digital Connect Initiative to help on sort of the people side of things. How do we help people get connected, use the internet for, you know, to help with an example I heard earlier was telemedicine. That's an excellent example, especially in rural settings like on a reservation. having the ability to call into your doctor, do a video chat or something like that, instead of having to drive to the hospital. Remote learning, work from home, running e-commerce, running your business, a small business online, all that type of stuff is an important aspect to consider of digital inclusion. And so that's what DCI has been created to do. We do digital literacy trainings. Again, so as Steve said, we are just sort of getting started, and we have a lot of ambitions. We have a lot of goals. So what I'm going to do today is sort of present our vision for DCI and the Gila River Indian community, which we hope to expand beyond Gila River as we learn and grow. So I've been thinking about this sort of as three different tiers, or you could think about it as like 3 different timelines, right? In the near term, digital literacy, improving people's digital literacy is sort of an immediate need that we can fill. And so we've been doing that with trainings with elders, helping them get connected because they want to attend district meetings, they want to attend community meetings, or even just stay connected to their family. Just this past week, well, just yesterday, no, on Saturday, I was at a community meeting of urban members and helping them get their photos from their phone to their computer. And they wanted to do, stuff like that, where people really want to learn simple, essential digital literacy skills, things like email and video conferencing. So that's one, and we help that at all ages. The young people, we think they're digital natives, meaning they grew up with technology, so they must know everything about computers, right? Well, that's not true. They still need to take that time to learn typing skills, stuff like navigating the internet safely and securely. So those are the type of skills that we are starting with in the near term. Midterm, we really want to help people who are interested in getting jobs in the tech field, tech and communications, through certifications, training, helping them to get their education, to a lot of barriers to people pursuing these jobs. And again, I'm focused primarily in Indian country, right? So with indigenous populations, there are a lot of social barriers, social and community barriers. So things like transportation or childcare, things like that we really want to help people remove those barriers, or at least lower those barriers, so that they can achieve their goals of entering the tech field, and also opening up plenty more jobs so that there are roles to be filled. So that's sort of the midterm, where we want to help people with their jobs. Oh, and of course, I can't forget, as I mentioned earlier, the entrepreneurs, the small business owners. We have a lot of creative people in Gila River Indian community, a lot of small business people who want to start their small business, but they really struggle because of the rural setting. And again, just sort of a lack of experience and exposure to the technology that will help them run a successful business. So we want to help them as well, getting their business off the ground and running them globally. And then sort of the third or long-term aspect of what DCI is looking to do is is engaging youth in STEM careers. And when we think about the next 7 generations of the Gila River Indian community, or any indigenous community, we're talking about the youth and our kids' kids and our kids' kids. And if we can inspire them to pursue careers in the STEM fields, specifically more in telecommunications and informations, whether it's coding or web development, or even newer technologies like 3D printing, augmented reality, or virtual reality. We want to inspire the youth to pursue opportunities like that. A lot of times they just don't have the exposure. They don't have, they just aren't told when they're young that this is a possibility for you. And so we want to bring that to the youth of our community. So that's sort of the 3, I would say, like the 3 pillars of DCI. We're still sort of developing our program, our actual programming. a lot of what we've done to date has been sort of that first one I mentioned, which is digital literacy training. We did one on telehealth, using Google products, and again, this video conferencing, differences between like WebEx and Zoom and stuff like that. And a lot of our audience has been elders to date, but I'm engaging with the Youth Council. Gila River has its own Youth Council, and I'll be meeting with them later this month to see, how can we start programs with them as well. So that's pretty much my presentation for now. This is DCI getting started. Actually, so one last thing, we have been, when you guys mentioned NTIA, I think Tribal Broadband Connectivity Program, because for Indigenous nations, the NTIA grant, the TVCP, has been the biggest source of funding or investment in broadband infrastructure use and adoption projects ever, so that's been a big deal in Indian country. We applied for that one. We're also applying for Good Jobs Challenge through the EDA, the Indigenous Communities Grant. I think that's also an EDA one. And so we've been doing a lot of grants applications and just trying to get things off the ground and get things started. So that's sort of been our role. And I've only been here for about 3 months. So we're sort of, like I said, getting started with all of those programs. So thanks for giving me some time to present at the meeting today. And I would love to connect with anyone on this call. I really enjoyed the conversation up till now. So thank you.
And just FYI, the announcement about the meeting that you hopefully all got should have his contact information. And Mikhail, you might also want to put it into the chat, please.
Yes.
And then Mark here, I just wanted to go a little further on the NTIA Tribal Grant Program. Those applications were due September 1. They were oversubscribed, I think about 4 to 1 against the $1 billion or so that was available. And only about 6 or 7 million has been announced so far, mostly probably the smallest of their grants. So we're still kind of waiting for the shoe to fall on the bulk of that $1 billion. So Mikhail, good luck with your application there. And then if you go Wednesday, listen to Administrator Davidson or otherwise know about that program. There's another $2 billion that was approved in the Infrastructure Act to refresh the tribal broadband program at NTIA. And I've been on some tribal listening sessions and webinars with the NTIA. It seems that that $2 billion will be split, with some of it going to high-graded applications from last September's round that were not initially approved against the $1 billion, and some new money. And so don't know if it's going to be 1 billion for already applied ones that didn't make the cut and 1 billion for new applications, but there will be some split. So we are waiting for the shoe to fall. I was involved in at least 3 tribal applications, again, due September 1, and we're waiting to hear, but more money's coming there as well.
Oh, wow. Yeah, thank you, Mark. That's right. So I've been reporting to my board, they're like, well, when do you expect to hear back? And I said, well, they said they said spring of 2022. So we're just waiting to hear back. But yes, I heard on the tribal leaders consultation with NTIA that there was sort of a split between people who wanted a second round of funding for those who were unable the first time around, and those who said, well, we already were oversubscribed, just use the money in the first round. So I think they're having to balance those two opinions.
Okay, any other questions, comments, partners that you folks are? Jeff, go ahead.
So quick question. One of the challenges we have, and I'm just going to say up front, Gila River is at the pinnacle of our tribes here in the state. The Gila River Indian community and the Navajo Nation are from a technical organizational standpoint, light years ahead of most of the other tribes. Now, there are other tribes like the Yavapai Apache that are catching up quickly, but there are certain tribes in the state that we have not connected with on a technical managerial level the way that we need to. And I've asked for help from some of our folks that work in those areas. I know in the past, I know with the Alluvion, with the USDA Reconnect grant was going to be building to other tribes. I'm just curious what the philosophy is at the tribal level about working with other tribes to either provide technical assistance or build rings that connect back to Gila River from some of these other areas, because believe me, they do need the help. And I would certainly appreciate the partnership if the tribe is interested in working with the state on that sort of thing.
That's a good question, Jeff. And I mean, I'm honestly not the best person to answer that. I mean, you would best be directed to David Ackerson of Alluvion. He's the general manager there, and he could probably speak to that a little bit better. Or Jim Myers, I can give you their contact information. He's the CEO of GRTI. From what I understand with that project in particular is tribes are open to it. I mean, they want to stay connected. I think one of the biggest obstacles a lot of tribes have is just a lack of capacity or resources. So maybe they're interested in working with the state or working with other tribes. They're not there yet. They're focused internally, and sort of building capacity there. So that's probably, as far as the best answer I can give you right now. But I'd love to, stay in touch and direct you to my colleagues at GRTI and Alluvion.
Yeah, that'd be great. I've met with David, very sharp guy. They've got some incredibly ambitious plans for Pinal County. And like I said, we just like more. We'd like to push them to maybe push into Southern Arizona, if that makes sense. So thank you.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts for Mikhail? Okay, so a couple of things. For those of you who don't know, I'm not always as great about getting out the minutes and so forth, like Henry and Oris used to do. And so you can download the chat right away so that you will have any of the information that was provided in the chat. So if you don't know how to do that, if you go to chat, and in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see ellipse, and you'll be able to download the chat and have that immediately available for you. So just wanted to point that out. So again, it's just phenomenal, the great work that people are doing here in the state. And thank you all for doing that and for joining us this morning. If any other—
Steve, I have a quick question.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Sharika.
Kelly, are you still on? Guess not. Okay, I was curious if because she's had said in her presentation that they had the information from the Mississippi on their tech, and so I was curious where it was at on the site, because I'm on the site and I don't see it. So that's what was my question was for her. Mississippi and Utah, she had stated their toolkits. All right, thanks.
Okay, anything else for today? Well, I believe we might be done for today then. Mikhail, thank you for joining us, and thanks for your presentation. It's always great to hear great stuff that's going on, and we welcome your engagement with us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Anything else for this morning? If not, I'm going to stop recording, and we will be kibitzing for anybody who would like to kibitz with us.